This is a show about real life.
Education, education, education. You know, I think that it's long past to say hush hush when someone gets pregnant.
That piece of legislation took almost 2 years across 2 different sessions of the General Assembly.
You're right to continue this talk about mental health. You're right, because it's something that needs to be addressed every day, not just one day.
Real people.
I have spent 30 years professionally in financial services. I've managed in numerous financial institutions across Chicagoland. I started my career in St. Louis with the Federal Reserve Bank.
I probably come with more than 20 years for sure of working in mental health in some capacity, shape, or form.
Really, first and foremost, I'm somebody who's from the South Side of Chicago, born and raised there. That's my pride. Graduate of King High School in 2008. After I left King High School, I went on to the University of Illinois, where I engaged in a lot of different sort of student-led activities, including Big Brothers Big Sisters, where I really found a passion for service.
Welcome to Real Talk.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Real Talk. Today is August 13th, 2021. And as you know, on this show, we talk about real people, real life, real issues. This is Real Talk. Beautiful day here in Chicago. I don't know about you, but I'm glad to be here, glad to be alive, clothed in my right mind. We are blessed in the midst of everything that is going on. I want to start off, as you know, there is a lot going on all across the world. Closer here to home in Chicago, I want to give our condolences and prayers to the family of the CPD officer, Ella French, who was shot and killed this past week. This was indeed very senseless. And we're also praying for the other unidentified officer who is in critical condition. As many of you know, my mom is a retired Chicago police officer, and I can only tell you that that was my prayer every night, that nothing would keep my mom from coming home to us. So my prayers are deeply sent out to the French family, and we're praying for comfort for them. You know, we spoke a few weeks about guns. And I have said, and you've heard me say on this show many times, I think that that is the genocide that is going to wipe out mankind if we don't change the narrative on this. And when you have, such as in this case, a straw buyer, the person who went and actually signed up and registered to get a gun and gives it to someone else or sells it to someone else, you often have situations that happen like this, and that can end up tragic. Guns in the wrong hands can end up really impacting a world. We've got to change the narrative, though, on this, and we got to ensure that our lawmakers are hearing us, and they are putting tougher penalties in place for illegal purchases or purchases of guns and people passing them off and illegally selling them. So I'm praying and believing that the narrative on this will change very soon. In other news, COVID-19 is on the rise. We have many mass mandates and required vaccine cards becoming a new reality for us. in many different states. We're also hearing that the FDA plans to authorize a third vaccine for those who have a weakened immune system. And I was told that some hospitals will be receiving that as early as this upcoming week. Meanwhile, schools are back in session in many different states. And if they're not back in session, they're about to be back in session starting soon this month for many others. We have millions of children ages 5 to 11 that still have no vaccine in place. You know, a lot of people, even those who can get the vaccine, a lot of people are still on the fence. If you saw our show from last week, I wanted to bring 3 different views. I wanted to bring the medical view. I wanted to bring the view of the person who does not believe in the vaccine, and the view from the person who does. These are the kind of conversations that are happening outside of our world. And I think this is why we're seeing the rise in numbers. Again, this was never brought, I think, in a unified, addressing COVID-19 was not brought to us in a unified way. That's why there is so much division. Meanwhile, the timelines for the first vaccine for children's ages 5 to 11, it could happen by the end of the year or as early as 2022. But we know that we must continue. And I know if people say, well, I don't need a mask to come in the store, I'm not going to put on a mask, or we're taking the mask mandate out of place. For me, I don't know about for you, but for me, I'm going to keep my mask on, and I'm going to continue to practice social distancing. And I think we also need to continue to, use hand sanitizer and use wisdom. I think that's important. No matter what a person is saying, we have to use our own wisdom. Speaking of COVID-19 and our young group of children from 5 to 11, and then think about this, from ages 4 down or 5 to 0 months, there is no vaccine for them either. It brings me to this guest that we have today. I was just elated when I read the information. We have an author with us today. If you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're an aunt, an uncle, if you're a part of that village, if you're a godparent, I think this episode is for you. That means everybody. This author, her name is Martina Domino. She is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Hope I'm saying that right. I've always had a tough time with that word. But she is a mom, she is a wife, she is an educator, and she is an author. And I want to welcome her to Real Talk. She's going to talk to us about a book that I think all of us need to get and to purchase right away, because what better time than today to introduce this book. Martina, are you with me?
I'm with you. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me.
Good, Martina. Thank you so much for coming on Real Talk today. I was just so excited. We can take a breather, I think, sometimes when I go and we talk to authors. You're our second author for us to have on the program. But would you tell us a little bit about you? I just told them a little bit. I was saving the big stuff for you.
All right. Well, my name is Martina Domino. I am from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm a mom of 3 boys. I'm married now, newlywed, and I'm the author of the book. Thank you. I'm the author of a book, What in the World is the Coronavirus? It was really important to me to write this book and see it all the way through. I think that it was very important for parents to use it and have it as a tool for kids. What else? I have a background in elementary education, also special education. I ran my own daycare at one point, and right before COVID, I was teaching. And right now, I chose not to. So right now, I'm focusing on the book. I'm trying to spread it to as many teachers and parents as I can to try to help young kids try to at least know what to do themselves, you know, because they're little, but they can follow directions and they can do things to keep them and their families safe, like wash their hands and use hand sanitizer and know to keep their mask on. So that's just a little bit about me. I kind of went on and on.
That is a lot, and you're in the right space and place today because we want to help you get the word out. I want to know, first of all, before we get into the book, what inspired you to become an author?
Really, it kind of happened a long time ago. When I was a little kid, I used to write stories, little small stories. It could be about Anna going to the store, and I used to illustrate those, you know, illustrate those stories, staple them, and make me a book. And I used to do that, and I had hundreds of these little books. You know, as we get older, we kind of choose to, you know, go into our career path. I was a mom, you know, was a rec therapist, was teaching, and I kind of strayed away from that. So I would say what inspired me to be an author again is when COVID hit. Because when COVID hit, you know, we having to take the kids out of school. My son, he was asking me a lot of questions. He didn't understand why he couldn't go back to daycare, why he couldn't visit his grandparents, why he couldn't go to the store. It was scary, you know, and it was scary for a kid. And I was like, you know what? All of these things that I wrote, you know, throughout the years, I never saw it kind of all the way through. I would just write and put it to the side. But I knew that I had to write something for children to understand, you know, the coronavirus and what was going on. And I know I had to like see it all the way through. And that's what kind of inspired me to become an author that I always wanted to be. I just think it was just the timing and what was going on just at the time. I just felt like it was the right time.
So you've been writing a long time. It's been something you've been doing probably as a hobby when it sounds like when you were younger.
Yes.
And this was your inspiration. COVID really helped to bring that out even more because there was a message that needed to get out. So you were inspired by the coronavirus. I was looking at some of your materials and I thought, you know, this is just, it's a great idea. But the characters in your book, I want you to first, I'm going to back it up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the book before I get into the characters and your messaging. Tell us about the book. The book is titled, What in the World? Well, let me start because I want to go back. It says W World Kids, What in the World is the Coronavirus? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell us about it.
All right, so I came up, I knew I wanted to write the book about the coronavirus, but I also had the vision of making it diverse. A lot of kids were dealing with it at the time. They had the same fears, and it weren't just our kids, it was kids in different countries. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna come up with a name for these diverse characters. And I don't know if you can kind of see it, you know, but they're from different countries. All of them have a different country, from France, from Russia, from the US, from Mexico. And they all look different because we all are different. But it was important for me to do that because all of the kids are going through the same thing. They were having to cope with coronavirus, not being able to go to school, not being able to go see their grandparents and go to the store. But then now you have the Delta variant. You know, we weren't worried about that last year, but this is something, to me, it makes it so much more important because now you have kids all over that are dealing with the coronavirus. And I just wanted, you know, people to see and kids to see that it's not just them, it's kids all over the world. Now, the W in W World Kids, if you would go to the front of the book, and that's just me being a teacher, trying to break it down for kids, I came up with the W just to show like the who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. And all of those are W's. And those are the questions kids are asking. My 5-year-old, he's 5 now, but at the time he was asking those questions, like, what's going on, you know? And so I just really wanted to write this book for kids without overwhelming them with too much information, because we can overwhelm kids if we give them too much.
Right.
But I wanted to give them just enough, you know, of what it is, how it has affected us, but just kind of like in a kid-friendly, you know, a kid-friendly way.
Can you hold that back up again? What the W's represent?
Yes, ma'am.
I like that. I like illustration. Oh wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Oh my God, and you got it. It's in big letters too. Love it. Love
Thank
it.
you so much.
Love it.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the characters in the book. You hit a little bit on this. The book, you wanted it to represent diversity.
Yes.
Because it wasn't just, you know, kids in America going through this. Kids in every country all over, as we can see on the news, has been impacted by this. Why was that messaging so important?
It was, you know, to be honest, last year, a lot was going on besides coronavirus. We had a lot of things going on, I would say, with racial injustice. And I just really thought that was important to show all kids in the book. You know, sometimes we focus in on just trying to show African-American kids, and that's okay, or Hispanic kids, and that's okay too. But I think it was a way just to show unity, you know, with kids just being able to see other kids that look different from them.
Yes. That
and
is.
We're different, but we're all the same, and we're going through the same things.
So the kids in your book, you had something you showed us earlier. Can you show us that again about the kids, the different
with the different countries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. So meet the W World kids. And so tell us a little bit, the kids from, what are the countries that are represented there?
So the countries are the USA, Canada, Mexico, China, England, Spain, Italy, Turkey, UK, Germany, Russia, Malaysia, Scotland.
Wow.
And the last little kid, he has a little question mark under there, because I kind of wanted to play a game with the kids for them to help me name the next character by looking at his T-shirt. All of these characters, if you notice, they have different T-shirts on.
Yes.
The T-shirt has the flag, their country's flag on the shirt.
That is awesome. I mean, what an awesome idea. Is your book in different languages?
No, it is not yet, although my dad has been pushing me to do that, and I do think it's important. But when you're publishing a book, especially if you're self-publishing, it's so many things that you have to do yourself. And so that has kind of been put, aside for now.
But it is something you're thinking about for later. It's definitely an option. That's great, because I think that would be super beneficial, especially if somebody is not from the U.S. or they can't read English language. So you can continue. It's a lot of different phases you can go through with this book. You mentioned you know what, I think once an educator, always an educator. That's because when you said let's go back to the book, it did remind me, definitely of being in school. What role do you think that played in helping you and shaping to form this book and in writing in general?
It just helped in a way because as a teacher, if you teach ELA, we always teach kids about the main idea. A
lot of people may not know what that means. Tell them what that means. ELA means.
In layman's terms, the main idea is just the main important, the big idea, what the story is all about. Mm-hmm. And so with the main idea, you choose, okay, what is it that we want, the students to know about? And that's the coronavirus. and just being a teacher, that played a big part in how I wrote the book, because after I got my main idea, then it was like, okay, what are the subtopics? What are the other things that I want, to put in the book? And that was, okay, what is the coronavirus? How is it spread? That was a page. What can you do to prevent yourself from getting the coronavirus? Washing your hands, social distancing, hand sanitizer, hand sanitizing and things like that. It was also, okay, last year, we were waiting on the vaccine. So I wanted a page, to talk about that. And I just wanted to break it up in different little sections, easy for a kid to just understand, because they don't understand all of the medical terms and things like that. I had to use some of those terms, but I just wanted to break it up so it'll be really, really easy for them to understand. And then I wanted to give them hope at the end. This is what, this is how it'll be again, once everybody's been vaccinated. And so, that's a big deal right now, because everybody does not want to be vaccinated right now. And everyone has their own reasons. But that part, that teacher in me, that helped me shape my book, because I'm just like, all right, what's the main idea? And what other, nuggets do I want a child to learn by reading the book?
That is awesome. Let me, I just want to ask this question. So when you were thinking about this book, and now what is happening going on with the Delta variant, with the vaccines, could it be that this could continue, especially, with you have the question mark for the next character and could this be a continuing book, or another a part 2 or 3 to this book?
Yeah, so, I don't want to spoil anything,
but
definitely, when I came up with the idea last year, I had no idea that we would even be at a Delta variant and it really affecting kids the way it is now. But I did have it like, I'm going to come up with these characters, and we're going to make different books for kids about things that they have a little difficulty understanding. And so definitely a continuation about the coronavirus, maybe even, just other topics around, let's say the health, the health and medical field.
I don't want you to spoil it, but I'm just sitting here thinking, I've always liked to write and always had a lot to say. I think there's a book within everyone. Everybody has a story to tell, but just, in layman terms, this is something that I think that could reinforce what parents and schools and teachers are trying to teach on, and it could continue that lesson. And remind, we were in the store the other day. I was in actually it was last week with a friend of mine who is an educator. And it was funny because we were in one of the stores and there were 2 little kids. And I'm going to say they probably were about 5 to 7, maybe. And probably 7 would be too old. But the mom kept saying, please put your mask back on. Please put your mask. The little girl pretty much kept hers, but it was the little boy who kept pulling it down. And then he had it hanging off his ears. And I could see that the mom was going crazy, because then he was running to the door. He was touching, because the thing that divided the line, he wanted to touch it. And she was like, oh my God, where's the hand sanitizer? I mean, and it often is very hard for people to teach this to younger children, yet, and you could probably speak to this because you're an educator, yet it's easy to teach them a lot of things foundationally. This book, would you say, what age groups do you think that this book would be most appropriate for?
I think most appropriate for kids, say like 5 years old to 10 years old, maybe even 12, depending on where they're at, as, force comprehension and things like, things like that. But a 5-year-old, because my son is 5, He can tell you everything about how to stay safe, from the coronavirus. He's read my book a lot of times, let's just say that. But I think it's perfect for that age, kindergarten, first grade, because even if they're really not at the point where they can read, the illustrations that I chose to show in the book, that was really important for me because I wanted it to be so clear that a 5-year-old or maybe even a 4-year-old, that may not, they may not read all that well yet, but they can look through the book and at least get from the book what's going on and what they need to do.
I want to sidebar for a moment. You being an educator, you being a mom, what is your position on the vaccine itself?
I don't know what to say about it. When the vaccine first came, I was skeptical. Okay, I will say that I feel like minorities have been taken advantage of in the past, and like other people, it's like I just really wasn't sure of it. I was one of those ones, although I have the book, and I'm not ashamed to say, I kind of wanted to do my research first to just see what was more important. So I had to make that decision for me. Yes. I had to make that decision for my son. We talk about asthma in the book. My 15-year-old has asthma. Mm-hmm. I had to make that decision for us. And I think the best decision for us was to get the vaccine. And both of us, we did get our vaccine. We're due for a second one. I really feel like everyone should get it, but I do have to respect everyone's decisions on it. But at the same time, we have so many unvaccinated people carrying it and passing it to other people. And the worst part about some of this is that they're passing it to someone who's already been vaccinated, and that's pretty bad because we make the decision, okay, this is what we're going to do our part to keep our neighborhood, our city, our community safe. And then, someone unvaccinated doesn't want to wear a mask, doesn't want to do anything but just let things keep going like it's going, affecting everyone else.
And a lot of the babies and the younger children are getting sick now that are not vaccinated.
Yeah, because in Louisiana here, they're already overwhelmed, sending ambulances to Texas. Our next door neighbor in Mississippi, I believe they just asked for a ship because they see it's about to be, there's about to be no room at the hospital. So you have to, I think, as just a member of your community, you have to make the choice. Okay, what are you going to do? And I think that the vaccine, although there's things we're not sure of about it, I think that that's the answer right now. Because what's happening? I've seen the same thing happen since last year. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 2, phase 1, and it just goes up and down and up and down. And it is irritating to me sometimes because, I'm not a government official, I'm not any of that. But at the same time, it's like, if I can see that something else needs to happen here, then they should be able to see it. So I'm all for the vaccine. I'm all for the mask, of wearing the mask. And I'm still for the social distancing. But look, the kids are back in school now. Yes. And all those schools are not social distancing. It's business as usual. And it's scary.
It is, and that's why I asked you as a mom, but as an educator too. You've chosen not to go back at this time. Is that correct? Did I hear you correctly on that?
That's correct.
You've chosen not to go back at this time. Now, I don't know about in Louisiana, but I know in Chicago, you know, especially in the inner city, you know, the classrooms were already overcrowded, you know, and so, you know, that's why I asked you the question that I did. You know, I'm not sure of how the plans, and no matter how we can lay all the right foundational plans, it just seems like to me that we're really, we opened up to me too soon. And I'm not saying, because I have, you know, girlfriends that are educators, and you have, they will say, the kids need to be back in school. You know, remote was a perfect tool, because coming up, I don't know about you, but you're a little younger than I am. But when school was closed back in the day, school was closed. We had no computers and options to go. So I think that we benefit by the technology of being able to do remote lessons and to do remote learning. But I do understand that, you know, for a lot of people, that may not be used to it, you know, or maybe they need to be more present in the classroom, and that feel and visual learning may be the best source. We got to be able to balance it, but I don't think that human lives need to be in any way, it's a gamble that we don't want to take. And so I'm assuming, and I know what happens when you assume, your 5-year-old is going back to school.
Yes. So this is for me very, it could be very temporary. So yes. I'm going to just say that first. When school closed, everyone was home. Last year, I stayed home. My kids stayed home. They were able to learn virtually. I liked it. You know, they came up with different ways to keep the kids engaged. But at the same time, as a teacher, I also understand some kids, they're just not able, they're not able to learn like that. Some kids do have to be in the classroom. And then I look at my son, he was in daycare. So last year in kindergarten, his first year of real school, he was at home. You know, you have those social skills that they're gonna kind of flip on if they're at home with mom and dad and brother, you know, every day. So it's, you know, you're right, you do have to find a balance, but I don't have the answers, you know, but there should be something. And for me, it just kind of goes back to getting the vaccine, because these little babies, they can't get it, you know, and so they have no protection other than their parents and the other adults that they're around, you know, to get the vaccine.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now they have another tool that they can utilize, your book. Your book. Your book. Your book. W World Kids, What in the World is the Coronavirus? I think it's a book everybody should get. I think even past 11 and 12, because, you know, there's still people that I even see them in the stores. They're still taking their masks off. Some come in without masks, coughing all over, you know, and you get alarmed. You get alarmed. And I have to share the same sentiments, you know, even though my youngest daughter is older. I still, as a parent, have some concerns about her returning to the classroom, you know, especially with this Delta variant. I don't care, vaccinated or not. We know that people who have been vaccinated, they tend to probably have less time being ill, or it doesn't get as serious as a ventilator, but still people are becoming ill that have been vaccinated. But, you know, as you said, and as we said here last week, when we had 3 different views, the medical view, the view that I don't believe in vaccines, and the one that, you know, vaccines, we're for vaccines. It was really just to show people what is going on in our world. And it's very unfortunate, but at the same time, it's a personal choice and a personal decision that we have to respect. What advice would you give to aspiring authors? You talked a lot about self-publishing, and it seems like self-publishing is not as easy as it sounds.
Well, it's not difficult, but it does require a lot of time. And the advice that I would give to any aspiring authors would be just to write and show your unique perspective, because we don't see things the same. You know, I'm sure if someone else wrote this book, and there are other, you know, coronavirus books for kids out there, but show your own unique perspective and just write, you know, show your individuality. And that's kind of what I did in my book. I wanted to just, you know, put some uniqueness on it and put some diverse characters in it. You know, I named them and everything, you know, just put your touch on it and just tell your story.
Speaking back to the book, who's Jalen?
So Jalen is actually my 15-year-old son, but of course in the book he's pictured much younger. Jalen, that's the one I told you, he has asthma. And so when I wrote the book, I was just like, you know, I was like, I have 3 boys, Jalen, Jordan, and Lloyd, and I kind of wanted to make them a character in the book also. So Jalen is my first W World kid. He's my firstborn. So that's who that is.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. As we wrap up, I mean, we could talk about this all day long. I'm just so enjoying you and enjoying learning. And I really want people to know more about where they can find your book and more information about you. Okay.
Well, you can find my book at martinadomino.com, MartinaDomino.com. And you can also find information about the book on Amazon, online at Walmart, Target, Barnes & Nobles, a few other places. And if you are a teacher, an organization, you know, I know the Delta variant is going and coronavirus is kicking up, but I am available for author visits, either virtual or in person. And of course, in person, you know, we have all those restrictions, you know, wear a mask, social distancing. And I can come out to the schools, read the book for the kids, you know, maybe have some interactive activities, just depending on the number of kids and spacing. And you can also book it online at martinadomino.com.
That is awesome. Can you show us again the pictures you held up so people, the viewers, can see? Yes. What in the W World kids, what in the world is the coronavirus? This is an excellent book by Martina Domino. I'm going to get it for my grandson. He turns 1 on next month, but that's okay, because see, another thing is parents can read to their children.
We sure can.
After, you know, before they even have them, you can read to them. It's at a certain point that they can hear you. So I think this is so awesome, Martina. I thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Is there anything else, that any projects, any upcoming? I know you don't want to spoil things. We got to keep up with you. I got to get you back here. You're going to come back and see me? You got to come back and see me?
I surely am.
Yes, definitely. Let's stay in touch, because I want to know about future projects, because I believe there's a part 2 and part 3 to this book coming. I don't know. We haven't talked. We met the first time today. So, but I believe it definitely is in the works. Thank you so much. You guys stay safe out there. I had heard, I guess it was supposed to be some wicked weather headed that way yesterday. Did things turn around?
We didn't get any in Baton Rouge, but one thing about here, it'll rain 1 minute and sunshine in the next minute. So we don't ever know.
Yes, yes. Hold your book up again one more time for me. Everyone, I want you to see this. Can we capture that, a picture of that? What in the world, W World kids, what in the world is the coronavirus? Thank you so much. Our author, Martina Domino, came to and talked to us today from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's support her. Go to martinadomino.com is where you can find out more information about the book. She has told us it's online at Walmart. Where else, Martina?
Target, Barnes and Nobles, and here in Denham Springs, Cavalier Bookstore.
And she's available for author visits. And I know a lot of students in schools before this coronavirus, they were doing author, having, reading time. So this would be perfect. Thank you so much, Martina, for joining us. I'm going to be keeping up with you.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
God bless you. And thank you for the work that you're doing. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, how refreshing. Even in the midst of a pandemic, we get creativity. Definitely let's support Martina Domino. What in the world, W World Kids, what in the world is the coronavirus? Again, martinadomino.com, and the book is online at Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble. Well, it's time for me to hear from my brother, Phil. Phil, are
Hey,
you there?
yes, I am. Can you see me?
You, Phil? You hiding?
No, I'm here. Let me see here.
I can't see you. I can't see you. Can you see me?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the video setting.
Oh, okay. The magic button today.
Yeah.
There you go. There's my beret brother. Hey,
It pops up on me on.
how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. Bless
What's
my
going
God.
on out there in the El Mirage? What kind of weather we got?
Oh, it's all right now. It's hot. It's 99 degrees, but it's overcast. We don't get no sun today in the Valley of the Sun.
Well, that's okay. I don't think you mind that a lot, do you? Or do you feel better when the sun is out?
No. As a matter of fact, I was able to ride again today.
Uh-huh. I'm going to tell you, I haven't been able, I got to catch up on your broadcast. And that's why I love you so much, because you keep your ear to the ground. What's going on? What's going on? Catch me up. What's going on? You heard Chicago, what the craziness that's going on continuously here with gun violence.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got gun violence. Heck, I don't know if you saw it. There was a 2-year-old that shot his mom.
Yeah.
And she's on Zoom. Why are you leaving a gun? See, this is why I say America don't need weapons.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the country just ain't mature enough to handle the responsibility.
Yeah.
When they say it was an accident, it was no accident that you left a deadly weapon out, in front of a 2-year-old who will by nature pick it up.
Yeah, especially if you know the seriousness of what that can do.
Oh yeah. They don't understand, But
Yeah.
that, in keeping with your topic today.
How'd you like that? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was wonderful. But 3 or 4 teachers in Florida died of COVID.
Yeah.
In Broward County. Since August 1st, they say 130 or 138, I can't even remember the exact number, but since it's been 13 days in August, 138 teachers have caught COVID.
Wow.
But people, but this governor down there is insistent on no masking in the schools. And when I was listening to Martina Domino there, and I heard the concern. You felt what she was feeling.
Yeah. We're both parents. You're a parent too, Phil. Yeah.
Just feeling her concerns about placing kids and herself, in the situation where the country don't even know what direction it's going to go in.
Right.
Right.
And she's not teaching this year.
Yeah. I mean,
or so far she's not.
I don't, how much is she supposed to put at risk when she's got kids of her own?
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's one thing she said that I relate to. You know, I didn't just up and get this vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
Mm-hmm.
I heard the early rumblings of, you know, et cetera. And I remember and studied the history of the Tuskegee Experiment from 1932 to 1972, killing people. They're trying to, you know, find something out, you know, using human guinea pigs. I get it. But this ain't that. People are dying worldwide. It's one thing if you had a concentrated effort to rid one nation of a certain, you know, group. That's called genocide, which they did.
Right. Right.
And nobody's denying that. But this ain't that. People all over the world. You know, my wife just told me, there was this guy, healthy, mountain climber, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Didn't get the vaccine. Died. You know, he's too healthy. He's too healthy for it. You know, but this misinformation campaign, you know, it's interesting. I saw, you know, on my video today, on my broadcast today, I made a concession.
You did? You made a concession?
I made a concession.
I'm definitely going back and watching this one.
I said, and I made it clear that I'm playing, quote unquote, the devil's advocate in this regard.
Okay. Uh-oh.
I said, you know what? All the conspiracy theories, all the stuff that you want to bring up, this and that, this is the reason why I don't get a vaccine. That's the reason why I want to wear masks. This is, you know, this and that. Okay, let's say it's all true, that I can stick a light bulb on my arm where I got my vaccine and it'll turn.
Oh my goodness.
Let's say it's true. Let's just concede and say it's true.
Okay.
Okay, so what's happening in reality? If everything you saying is true and you think that, quote unquote, the government is trying to kill you, but at the same time, the government is saying if you don't get this vaccine, you're gonna die. What logical choice are you gonna make? And let's just say it's a conspiracy to get rid of a whole lot of people that's this vaccine.
Yeah.
This virus.
Yeah.
Let's just, you know, I even went so far as says make the hypotheses that Fauci invented it. That's it, because that's what Rand Paul wants you to believe anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so let's just say it's all true. But if you got rid of Rand Paul, if you got rid of the CDC, if you got rid of everybody connected that you think is responsible for this thing, does that get rid of the virus? Does that stop killing people? No. You know, it just don't. So your choice, and I think there's really two choices, two logical choices. Either get the vaccine or wear a mask in public so we can kill this thing together. We have to get that foxhole mentality as a nation, as a world society, really.
Right.
Because it's worldwide.
Right.
And once we get that, then and only then can, not the US, not Russia, not China, then Earth can get rid of this thing.
That's right. I agree. I agree with you. You know, Phil, the message has to continue. And while, you know, last week when we continued off the air in studio, you know, there was a lot of conversation. And as I said, I wanted to bring three different views. I wanted to bring the medical view, the view of the person who did not believe in the vaccine, and of course, you as a person who believes in it. And these are the kind of conversations that we need to continue to have, because this is what's happening out here on a larger scale. And you have so many people who believe in one way or the other, but there is no unified approach to this. And now I think we're seeing it more, but the leadership in the White House, the way that this was all addressed in the beginning, I think set the tone. And the division And that's why we have so much division. And even though we can't go back and redo that, I think that it's very important that we continue the conversation.
Well, not only that, you know,
Yep.
we have to continue the conversation, but we also have to, you know, I'm ex-military, and I think of things in that kind of quasi-militaristic thought pattern. If we have a mission to attack an enemy, and we're at different locations, we're teams in different locations, but we come up with a strategy, a time, et cetera, of execution, et cetera, to attack our enemy and to defeat them. If one of those teams says, okay, I'm going to do completely different what the rest of the teams are doing, it puts the rest of those teams and the entire operation at risk. We are facing as a world society what is potentially, and I've said this before, this is a potential of being a human life-ending event still. And when people get that understanding that if we're not in the same fight, we're going to lose this fight, when they get that understanding, then things will change. But the United States, being the moralistic leader of the world, we have to get ours together first.
That's right.
You know, and we can't, you know, all these, I respect people's opinions, but in a firefight, you got one commander. If my team is shooting this way because he sees enemy coming that way and another one shooting that way, guess what? That exposes our whole team. It's splitting my forces. In other words, who's covering right in front of me?
That's right. That's right.
You know,
That's
so
right.
we have to attack things in a unified manner. If not, united we stand, divided we will fall.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. You know, as I continue to think about it, it's even like, I'm going to take chemotherapy, for instance. I remember when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was not going to, it's not something I've talked about a lot, but I was not going to do chemotherapy. And I wasn't going to do it based on, and when the doctor asked me, well, why not? I said, because I saw my great-grandmother die of cancer, not the same type. My great-grandfather died of cancer, not the same type. Both of them had chemotherapy. I saw my grandmother have chemotherapy, again, not the same type. And they're not here. And so the doctor said to me, can you tell me how long ago that was that we're talking about? And I said, well, my great-grandfather died in 1975. My grandmother, my great-grandmother died in 1982, I believe. And my grandmother died in 1995. So she said, do you know how far medicine and research has come since then? We have an artillery of drugs that we can fight this disease, and you can be on the other side of this if you will just, you know, make up your mind to take it.
I can relate to that in a way because, see, my real mother, she died in 1970 of breast cancer. You know what I learned not too long after that as a young man? That if they would have had mammography,
yeah,
she would have been alive
today,
way much longer, if not even now.
Yeah,
you know, I get it, and people are confused about the advances of mankind. One, they don't trust it.
Yeah, and understandably so.
And see, you know, it's kind of like that Malcolm X mentality. There's a reason why there's an X at the end of Malcolm's name. See, people are scared of the unknown. People have respect for things that they don't understand.
Right.
But they're at the same time, it is that fear. And it takes a bold person, a brave person, a faithful person to challenge, to find out what is that unknown. And Americans as a whole, we need to reach that. we need to evolve as a people to one, not just to fight this virus, but to survive under the tenets of democracy for which we so-called stand. You know, we have to face our fears and go boldly into the next day. And if not, you know, all things can happen.
Well, let me tell you, I don't put my trust in the vaccine. I put my trust in God.
God, because
I pray just like the chemotherapy. Every time, even before, but I would pray, because you know what? I understand people who don't want to do this for the reasons that they don't. But I am so glad that that doctor said that to me. But more importantly, I'm glad my youngest daughter told me. She came in one day from school. She doesn't say much. She's not a person of many words. That's the one that's training to be she's a student pilot now, training to get her pilot licensing. And she said, "Mom, you have to fight. You go out and fight for everybody else. Fight for yourself." Well, I didn't know really what she meant. And I just told her, I said, "You don't understand what chemotherapy does." And she says, "No, I don't, but you are a warrior. Fight." So, I thank God that he worked through her, and I'm grateful to be here. Some people would say, well, it was because chemotherapy. Some people say, but I think it was maybe a combination, but God is the ultimate reason. He's the ultimate reason.
Yes, it's like I said the other day that sometimes God sends us things. It's that man in the boat.
I love that story. I know you're going there.
In that boat, sometimes God will send you something, and you got to be wise enough to understand where it's from.
That's right.
But see, the thing is,
and your help coming.
A lot of people are thinking that, okay, well, what's the origin of this cure? Or what's the origin of this treatment? And so they say, you know what, I doubt God sent it. And there's where you mess up. When the evidence is there that God sent something, because nothing, including vaccines, contrary to some people's understanding, nothing can be created but by God. Nothing good can be created but by God. Man may have his ideas that he's greater than his powers, but he already knew that it was going to be invented. He already had put it in somebody's mind to get trained to be a virologist and study this for 20, 30 years. Right. So it's kind of hard. It's just kind of hard to get people to understand that everything just ain't of mankind.
That's right.
Nothing good for the advancement of mankind can exist without God having a hand in it,
And there it is. I gotta go, Phil.
I understand it.
I gotta go. But I thank you so much for coming on. I'm gonna catch up on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Phil Bynum, my brother who comes on and gives his perspective, keeps his ear to the ground. He must have at least 7 or 10 TVs, I think, sometimes watching everything that's going on. Catch him on Facebook at Phil Bynum and Phillip Bynum, I'm sorry. And I call him Phil, but it's Phillip Bynum is where you will see him. I want to also thank my other guests for coming on, Martina Domino, for telling us more, and get this book, W World Kids, What in the World is the Coronavirus? She is just laying it out. I think it's powerful. I think it's a tool that can reinforce social distancing, masking up, and the things that we're trying to teach our kids to be safe. You can find the book on martinadomino.com. It is online at Walmart, Target, Barnes and Noble. I thank you all so much for joining us. Please like, share, comment on our page on YouTube. You'll find our past episodes. Thank you to my technical director, Anthony Greer, and my contributing producer, Tanya Thomas. And I want you guys to stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your evening and weekend. Thank you for joining us here on Real Talk. Have a good evening.